So, I've done hardcore Nuzlockes using Red's team, Blue's team, and Green's team, so what more is there? You have your male protagonist, your rival, and your female protagonist. Well, in the manga, there was a secret fourth character, someone blessed with magical healing powers and a special bond with Red's Pika. I'm of course talking about Yellow, my favorite underdog who came from nothing and put together an awful team to stop the Elite Four's evil plans. Any character with a fun gimmick is an instant win in my books, so Yellow and her fishing rod can go in my hall of favorites, along with Gold and his billiard trick shots, and Black with his mind-emptying abilities. Like with my Blue video, I made sure to make custom sprites, so check out our new overworld look, as well as our back sprite in battle. I picked Soar just so our rival could have his signature Charizard, but as soon as we get situated, I pick up some Pokeballs and start catching our real encounters. First, on Route 1, we catch a Rattata named Ratty, who is actually Yellow's first Pokemon. Yellow was attacked by a wild Dratini, but Red happened to be there. He sent out Soar to take him out before letting Yellow borrow Pika to catch a wild Rattata, helping Yellow start her journey before flying her back to safety. Rattata actually has two possible abilities, and we got pretty lucky that we got Guts, which will up our physical attack when Ratty's burned, paralyzed, or poisoned. His other ability, Runaway, is basically useless though. Up next on Route 2, we catch a Caterpie named Kitty, who is another key member in Yellow's team. Kitty was mostly unevolved in Yellow's arc, but as a Caterpie, he was able to support the team with his strong Silk, which led to one of the coolest moments in the manga. We'll get to that part later, but trust me, the reveal was really cool. Finally, in Viridian Forest, we catch the one who started it all, a Pikachu named Pika. In the manga, Red mysteriously goes missing after he heads off to meet with the Elite Four, and shortly after, an injured Pika stumbles into Professor Oak's lab asking for help. Yellow's the only one who can help him, so the two of them set off to save Red and stop whatever the Elite Four was planning. Now, before we can go too far, we need to take on Brock. I know our team's looking pretty dire, which was my biggest concern going into this challenge, but we've came up with a pretty consistent strategy. Kitty's evolved into Butterfree, and we've got the Compound Eyes ability. See if you can figure it out before I reveal it. Alright, here we go. Alright, so the plan is, we will growl, because Thunder Wave will not affect him. He went for the tackle, 6 damage, that's not bad. We are plus defense. Okay, doing less and less. Okay, defense curl, that's fine. When the crit comes, I would prefer the crit to be on Pika. How many are we at? One more. Let's see. Oh shoot, a bunch of your messages didn't load. Static worked! Yo, let's go! Let's go, okay. Okay, that's all our growls. He's paralyzed, so we don't have to spend a turn to Stun Spore. So let's set up Hardens. Okay, that's really good. Yeah, he's just gonna waste turns. Let's see how much that does. Nothing. Okay, so he's -6 attack. We will be +6 defense. Rock Tomb doesn't make contact. Yeah, I need him to tackle or bind me. That sounded weird. Here we go, full para. We've got 2 more Hardens to go for before we start taking them out. Okay, so far we've only taken 4 damage. We are maxed out on defense. Now we'll go for confusion. Now I'm thinking, when Onyx comes out, if we use Stun Spore, he's gonna be slower than us, right? So won't the AI always go for Rock Tomb then? Alright, we get the, I forgot. I might just go for Sleep Powder. So, Compound Eyes boosts our accuracy, so the once 75% accurate powder moves are now 97.5%. Okay, so we hit him with a sleep. That's 1 turn of sleep. That's good. We outspeed too. Okay, should be able to tank a Rock Tomb, right, with all our defense. Let's go. That's GG's. With Brock defeated, we make our way through the routes while also picking up a Geodude named Gravy in Mount Moon. In the manga, Gravy was initially Brock's Pokemon, but he entrusted Yellow to take care of him. He didn't evolve though, because Yellow didn't see Gravy as one of her Pokemon right away. He evolves later on in the really cool moment, but I'll discuss that when we get there. No spoilers. Now that we can make it through to Cerulean City, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have a plan against Misty. Her Starmie hits like a truck, and none of our Pokemon can really tank a Water Pulse. Even Ratty, who's evolved into Eradicate, can barely survive too. Alright, first, we will Thunder Wave. That will give us more chances to, like that, take 0 damage. Right then, should we double team? Because if we double team the AI, I don't know if the AI would go for a Swift over Water Pulse. That way maybe we can save a little bit of health on Starmie. Might as well. We'll go for 1, just to see what happens. Okay, we will have to not get crit. That is scary. There's always a chance for a para, right? Oh, okay, or we can get a crit, okay. Let's go, Pika. I think, yeah, Thunder Shock would be a 2-shot. Oh, we wanted the level up. We wanted the XP on the level up. Oh, I don't know, man. I think I would rather go into Kitty. Because if we go into Kitty, we can Stun Spore. Or, I mean, we can Sleep Powder. Right? If we Stun Spore, then we cannot put him to sleep. We should be able to tank a few. I don't think Pika can tank another Water Pulse. But I could also go into Ratty, but I think we should weaken him a little more, right? Ratty's at the very end. Water Pulse. Man, why does that have 100 accuracy? Okay, no confusion. Oh, I forgot to equip the Persim. The Persim Berry wasn't the only thing we forgot to equip, by the way. I totally forgot about the Oran Berry right here next to this youngster. I feel like between Stun Spore and Sleep Powder, Stun Spore might be better. I think I'm gonna go for the para. They outspeed. Oh no. No crit, no para, or no confuse. Okay. Alright. I should have equipped items. I totally forgot. Oh gosh, okay. Ooh. I don't think we live another one. We might just lose. Okay, yeah, we could flinch. There's a chance we just miss too. Oh no. It's doable, but I wanted to have Raticate through. Man. The worst part of this battle? If I had remembered the Oran Berry and equipped it, we would have had enough health to survive the poison and take out her Starmie on the next turn. It wasn't worth continuing the run without a teammate, so I decided to call it. After that crushing defeat, the stream and I did some theory crafting, trying to figure out if this battle was even possible. First, we looked at if Guts Raticate was necessary, since without the poison damage, Ratty would have survived. Then, we even looked at if Gravy could pull any weight instead of just chilling in the back of our party. The theorizing got pretty out of hand, even talking about the channel and why people weren't as receptive to my recent video. I think with my initial audience, since everyone is here for manga videos, it didn't really hit well with them, and because of that, the algorithm had a tough time like recommending it to people. This one didn't really take off as much as I wanted, which is a little disappointing, but I think right now I'm gonna focus more on manga then. You guys should definitely check that one out, by the way. I'm super proud of my storytelling and our reenacting of the Twitch Plays Pokemon saga. With the valuable lesson learned, I ended the stream that day excited to try again tomorrow. Yeah, alright, I'll see you guys. I gotta sleep, and shower, and poop. Alright, see y'all. Thanks for tuning in. The next day was a shorter stream, with Attempt 2 starting off on a rough foot. Fingers crossed for Guts. That's alright. That sucks, I'm gonna be honest. Then after getting Kitty, we had to reset the run. There we go. Okay, a little bit scary. We are at 9 HP. How much does that do? Bruh. Attempt 3 was a little better since we could actually get our encounters this time. Unfortunately, no luck with Guts Raticate though. Oh, I forgot to check. Are we Guts? Impish again? Runaway? Wait a minute. That's the same as the last Rattata. Against Brock, we used the same strat, and I gotta be honest, it's pretty darn consistent. Not bad. Alright, I'm definitely gonna have to stop after Brock. I need a pee. I had to pee and it was getting late, so we ended the stream after about an hour and a half. Little did I know, the next time I'd boot up the stream again, we'd be in for one heck of a ride. 4 days later, I tried again, and this time, we were not stopping until we beat the game. This stream ended up going for almost 7.5 hours. I'm gonna condense the rest of attempt 3 because our No Guts Raticate could not hang with the rest of the team. And then we'll go for the Stun Spore like usual. Guys, I'm actually stupid too. I forgot to equip the berries. Yeah, that crit basically sealed our fate. Attempt 4 was much better. Ratty finally had guts, although his nature was modest. Probably the worst one we could get at plus special attack and minus attack. Against Brock, we used the same strat as before. That should be a 3-shot, right? Yeah. It's so close to being a 2-shot. That's pretty good. That's what we did all the hardens for. Onward to Route 3, where we pick up the Oranberry this time, get Gravy back, and arrive at Cerulean City. With everything ready, it's time to try again against Misty. Okay. He did not go for Water Pulse. That is really good. We got good RNG now, so we can take out a chunk of Starmie. Alright, here is the Starmie. Now we have two options right now. We could go for a Thunder Shock for the damage, or we could Thunder Wave to slow him down forever. I'll T-Wave. I want to be faster. Okay. Now we'll go into Kitty. I don't want to switch directly into a Raticate. Oh, it was a Swift. Are you okay for Water Pulse? Doesn't he always see kill with Water Pulse? Man, why did that have to crit? I'm pretty sure Water Pulse would take us out. Man, this sucks. Let's go into Ratty. Hopefully he gets paralyzed a few times. That really does so much. Where's my Orin? Yo, let's go! No way! Okay, we win! As long as we don't miss, right? There's our Orin. I don't know why it activated so late. Oh, maybe not on the turn for switching in? As long as we don't miss, right? Let's go! Let's go! Oh man, we finally can make progress. Okay, definitely needed a little bit of luck there, but come on. Look at our team and tell me what we're supposed to do against Starmie. Get used to this team too, cause we can't catch anyone for a few more badges. Our rival is pretty easy since Gravy can sweep his entire team, but with our limited encounters, there is one difficult aspect. Alright, I do want to conserve XP a little bit, because we only get to level 24. So we've got 5 mandatory trainers coming up. I think probably like 4 or 5 on the way there. Oh, also the dig house, right? We'll deal with that when we get to it, but for now, we make it through Nugget Bridge while having some interesting chats with the stream. Yeah, I drew some fake Mon, but they were never that good. I drew so much fake Pokemon. I was really into drawing Pokemon, but all the design, I was looking back, my parents have all those old notebooks, they suck. They're really stupid. Really stupid looking. I think I just started with some scribbles and then I put a face and then I called it a Pokemon. But yeah, I would do the fake Pokemon, and I would also do the Pokemon, like, sprite fusions. I remember, like, going on school field trips, I would bring the Pokemon handbook and my art notebook, and I would just draw, I would, like, merge 2 Pokemon together. I only had one that I really liked. I think it was, like, a Victory Bell Dragonite fusion that I really liked. I can bring out, here, let me get something in the back. This is the one that I had. Like, it had all these, and I would open up these, and I would just do the sprites that way. Man, all the art for these are so cool, and you can see, like, the translation sucked. Like, it says techniques. Like, instead of moves, everything's called a technique. And it didn't even have all the techniques, too. Yeah, the types were called... Here, hang on. Let me switch to... Yeah, the element was called fighting, and then his type was called punching. I had this one, too. Yeah, this one I didn't use too much, but I liked it a lot. My cousin gave this one to me. I remember in the beginning, they would put, like, all the Pokemon sorted by the types. So I remember I would look at this, like, looking at the different type combinations. It was so fun for me. Here's my other handbooks. I got the Sinnoh handbook too. I remember waiting in line for the book fair to get this one. Back then, I was so young too, man. I thought this was called the Simon region. I kept going around calling it the Simon region. And then I remember there's a girl in my class, she didn't even play Pokemon, but she was like, you're such an idiot, bro, it's a Sinnoh. But I would walk around, I would tell all my friends, like, I'm so excited, I'm gonna get the Simon handbook. This one This one I think goes up to, I think it's Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon. No, maybe it's Gen 6. And then here I've got one with everything. We also get a super rare glitch that I've never seen before. The ones I had were alphabetically ordered. I have more. Here, let me go get some more. Make sure I'm not running over anything. I'm paralyzed? Wait, what the heck? From what? Wait, how'd I get paralyzed? So, after talking with my friend and fellow PokeTuber Whoop about it, we found out that it's a glitch when secondary effects like Poison Point and Static interact with the 2 attacks of Double Kick. When the second attack registered, the check for Static was incorrectly added to Pika instead of the Nidoran. It's definitely cool that we're still discovering new glitches at this point. With the SS ticket from Bill, we board the ship while avoiding as many trainers as we can. We've got one last fight against our rival, but the only real threat is his Kadabra. Oh, also, we were talking about Scholastic book fairs on this stream, and I may have admitted to a crime, I don't know. Yo, I'll be honest, I love the Scholastic book fairs. Don't tell anyone, but I used to go in with a jacket and I would put a book under the jacket and just walk out. And his parents running it, so they don't really care. I probably shouldn't admit that. But my parents really didn't give me, like, they said it'd be wasting money to buy the book. Alright, let's see, don't miss this one. Okay, there we go. No way! Does he potion up? No, we're fine. I should've went for tackle then. I thought he might potion. Okay, never mind. I was afraid that 90% would miss. What does he have, Metal Claw? No, he shouldn't have anything. Yeah, we're fine. Did I miss? Wait, what? Oh, because of the sand attack. Don't burn me. Don't miss. Should I stay in? I'll do it. That's physical, right? Yo, that's so scary. Oh my god. Don't miss, bro. Thank you. Oh my god. There's a slight delay. I thought we missed. I was gonna say, you stupid idiot. Okay, thank you. Oh, Kadabra, I forgot. This better not kill us. How much XP do we have here? Oh, we're fine. Right, we're a high enough level. Man. Does he have Psybeam at this point? That could be kind of scary. Confusion. Okay. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna Stun Spore. I would prefer that. Yeah, because we're gonna go into Ratty to take him out. Oh, he has Synchronize. Yeah, there is a Synchronize. I would say I'm okay to go into Ratty because we outspeed. How much does that do? That better not do more than half. Stop. We're okay, right? Man, I'm so scared Hyper Fang is gonna miss at a critical moment. Okay, we're fine though. Oh, no, we're fine. We can. He's only level 16. Oh, we got the flinch though. All right, let's just finish it off. All right, only one more mandatory trainer. All right, what's up, dude? By the way, that mandatory trainer is right here at Lieutenant Surge's gym, but he only has a single Pikachu. He's really just practice for us to prepare for Surge. I think it's the delay. It's all right, don't worry. Reminds, oh, Captain Underpants and Goosebumps. Dude, I read Captain Underpants a lot. Like, probably way past when I was supposed to be reading it, too. And Goosebumps, I'll be honest, I never read. I think for me, I was just a little too scared. Captain Underpants, man. I remember, like, I was starting to feel a little self-conscious. Like, am I supposed to be reading this? Everyone else was reading, like, you know, regular books. Eat will heal. Right? Yeah. So I'll dig. Dig rat. Oh, dang, let's go. Okay. Let's see, we should be all right. Who's coming out next? Pikachu. We should outspeed because he's only 18. Yep, only level 18. That should Oko. Yep, there we go. Now Raichu will come out. I think we should be able to tank a Shockwave, but I don't want... Oh, come on, man. Yeah, never mind. We're going to switch. We got to take him out on the first magnitude. You better go for Shockwave, man. Hey, Mazar. Welcome back. We're making good progress. Nah. Man, this sucks, though. Okay, he's up by one double team. He cannot paralyze us. Yeah, he has to go for quick attacks. This should be an easy win, right? Unless we miss every single magnitude. Like that. Come on, Gravy. Let's see. Come on, dude. Okay, let's see how much that does. Magnitude 6. Okay. I'm good with that. Yeah, he's stuck using quick attack. Like, in theory, he probably could have steamrolled us with double team. Yeah, like that, man. Come on. He's stupid. But he's doing 3 damage, so we've got a lot of opportunities. Bro, are you kidding? That's one double team. You're acting like he's plus 6. There we go. Thank you. Man, he's stupid. Okay. With Surge defeated, we make our way through Rock Tunnel, where Gravy finally evolves into Graveler. There's not too much to do in Lavender Town, so we head over to Celadon City to get our next team member, Dodie the Doduo. Dodie! We got Dodie! Dodie! In the manga, Dodie was Yellow's main form of transportation. The first time we see her, Yellow was riding in on Dodie's back to find Pikachu. Oak didn't trust her, so he sent out Spearow to test her strength. Yellow commanded Dodie to use Whirlwind, then had Dodie run circles around Spearow until they confused themselves. This caused the battle to end in a way that neither Pokemon would be hurt, and in that moment, Oak realized that Yellow really was a gifted trainer. He entrusted her with Pika, and the two of them set out to save Red. Dodie actually had some synergy with Gravy when Gravy used his powerful arms to launch Dodie at high speeds in that super awesome battle that I can't talk about yet, but don't worry, we'll get to that part once we get our final team member. Back in our adventure, we get ourselves ready to take out Erika. I'll be honest, I didn't plan this one out too much with chat, but let's be real, who's ever wiped to Erika before? And no, that wasn't foreshadowing. She's really just that bad. Yeah, but level 37 and fighting Lance, bro. I gotta delay the evolution until Lance. I am nervous for Lance. Omastar should carry, but just in case, I gotta think of a backup plan. One shot? No. She's gonna burn a potion, right? Let's see. Well, we're gonna burn a Lumberry. That's why we plan. Alright, there's the Hyper Potion. Alright, I guess she only has one. Ice Beam is so good for Lance. Yeah. Against Gyarados, I've got Rock Slide or something. Let's do Psychic. Ingrain. Okay, you want to waste a turn? Yeah, Tangle is very physically bulky. Special defense, we should win. Yep. And then Vileplume, I think this just, it might be a Butterfree sweep. Let's see, Vileplume. Oh, it's a shame. We got Dodie for all this, but maybe we won't even have to use him. What is Vileplume gonna use? Stun Spore? We could get some bad luck right now. Possible. Let's see. Ah, man. Alright, there we go. No Dodie required. Butterfree is really gonna be our MVP, right? Helped us for Brock, for Misty too. Well, no, I would say Ratty's the MVP for Misty with the Gut Strats. And then Gravy for Lieutenant Surge. I'll be honest, Dodie probably could have taken this one. But we'll give Dodie a chance to shine later, you know? Now, before we can access the rest of Kanto, we need to clear through the sleeping Snorlax with the Pokeflute. In order to get the Pokeflute, we need to clear through Team Rocket's hideout, including taking out Giovanni, which gets us the Sylph Scope. Then, with the Sylph Scope, we can see the ghosts in Lavender Tower, which lets us calm the Ghost Marowak. By the way, am I the only one who calls it Lavender Tower? I feel like I've been Mandela affected, because this building is called a Pokemon Tower. I know I can't be the only one, right? With Mr. Fuji rescued and the Pokeflute acquired, we can make our way over to the Snorlax to continue our journey. On the way there, Dodie accidentally levels up to level 31, which is the level he evolves. Oh, I forgot! I forgot Drill Peck! Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It takes too long for chat to catch up. Oh, it should be okay. Turns out, Doduo learns Drill Peck at level 37, while Dodrio learns it at level 47. This means we won't have Drill Peck to help us against Koga and Sabrina, but it's not the end of the world. Tri-Attack should be able to help us a lot, since it's still a physical attack in this generation. Gravy can take care of Snorlax too, since we resist his attacks. We make our way through the routes and arrive at Fuchsia City, which lets us get all our important items from the Safari Zone, including a Quick Claw for Gravy. We also have an interesting conversation, which totally doesn't foreshadow anything in the future. Yeah, Fly versus Aerial Ace, I'm probably not gonna... Does anyone spam Double Team? Does like Agatha's Gengar or something weird like that? I know the Ho in Elite Four loves Double Team. We should be okay. We also get a huge scare with the first trainer in Koga's gym, who sends out a level 38 Hypno. Who does he have? Hypno. 38! What am I? What's stronger? Shoot, I didn't realize they were so high level. 70 versus 80, so I'll try attack. I was really so scared we'd lose someone to Psychic. I forgot they were so high level. Man, I had like a mini heart attack. To prepare for Koga, we level up the team to around level 40, since Sabrina has the same level cap at 43. Gravy evolves into Golem, but he's my backup plan since I'm expecting Dodie to help us out a lot. Oh, also, the conversation's gonna feel pretty random, but we were talking about our favorite Pokemon designs. Sableye is a really good one too. I had a lot of fun with Mega Sableye in Gen 6. But yeah, I'll be honest, I feel kind of stupid when I tell people my favorite Pokemon is Charizard. It's like saying your favorite dinosaur is T-Rex or something. But it's cool, it's a nice design. Yeah, they're all cool in my books. Leafeon's a really nice one. I don't even kill! And I get poisoned! Oh, okay. But we should resist everything with Gravy, though. It's not the end of the world. It's gotta be Electabuzz, that's a rare one. That one, I don't hear a lot of people say. I know, like, his head is shaped kind of like a UFO, but I think it's a cool design. Electivire definitely upgraded him a lot. Both the coughing and boom, yeah, it's a little scary. The acid armor, all magnitude. Poison's gonna be incoming, right? 9, let's go! The acid armor doubled hits. Oh, we totally would have taken him out. Oh, now he's gonna go for minimize. Now he's gonna heal too, right? So I gotta get lucky with the magnitude. Yeah, there's the heal. Don't miss. Thank you. I feel like Sableye is overshadowed by Spiritomb. Yeah, Spiritomb has a lot more love, especially that it was on Cynthia's team, right? And his stats are just better. Magnitude 6, dude. They were both special back when fairies didn't. Yeah, don't poison me. You stupid idiot. You suck. Don't heal. You're gonna heal. Funnily enough, you're not a fan of Electivire. Drop Buzz's speed and turn him into a physical attacking. Yeah, I see that. I like how Magnitude 7, let's see. Dude, I gotta get better rolls. I'm really gonna be in a tight corner if he's not able to take him out. Don't miss either. Thank you, that should take him out. Yeah, I like how a lot of ROMs make Electivire electric fighting. I think that gives it like a more unique thing, but yeah, Electabuzz lost a lot. I remember there's that one episode, right? Wasn't it Electabuzz versus Scyther or Magmar? We should be totally okay. Oh man. We tank that. Yeah, we're fine, we're fine. I probably should have leveled up a little more, but I was just scared of over leveling. Weezing comes out. What does Weezing have again? We do get some heals with the citrus. Weezing has, here, let me show you guys. Tackle, Smokescreen, Toxic, and Sludge. I'm pretty sure that we tank a Sludge. For sure we tank a Sludge, even after the poison. So let's just go for a Rock Blast, right? Oh yeah, we're fine, we're fine. I'll switch into Kitty after. Crit, let's go! Yeah, Smokescreen could be scary. Let's see how many we land. Ooh, what is this? Loaded dice, let's go! Would he heal again? Okay, Rock Blast is 80 accuracy. So I'm gonna have to switch into Kitty. That was a lot, but we should outspeed. Yeah, we're fine. Yo, I think you forgot Guts exists after Misty because you haven't talked about it since. I think we just really needed Guts for Misty. But now we have Golem, we have Dodrio, so it's not as necessary. With Koga defeated, I want to get our last team member, but none of our Pokemon can learn Surf. So to get around this, the stream and I decided to catch a Seadra since Yellow briefly caught one while rescuing Bill. Oh, that's a 4%. I'll go just because it's 80 for Horsey anyways, right? I hope I don't have to battle these guys, right? Oh yeah, there's a spot here. Whoa, Gyarados here. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Flashback.
I'll go just because it's 80 for Horsey anyways, right?
Bruh.
You stupid.
We immediately fish up Seadra on our second attempt and call him Seadri. Now that we can surf, we make our way to Cinnabar Island and revive our final team member, Omni the Ammonite. Okay, now I can finally talk about my favorite moment in the manga. So you remember how in the beginning of the video, Red randomly goes missing? Well, he was invited to challenge the Elite Four, but they all teamed up against him using their Pokemon and their powers. For example, Lorelei had ice powers that allowed her to form ice handcuffs on Red's arms, eventually causing him to freeze over completely. Pika had managed to escape, but the Elite Four was already on their way to enacting their plan to wipe out all Pokemon trainers. That way, wild Pokemon could live freely. Truly the Team Plasma at home. Yellow teamed up with Blaine to stop them atop an erupting volcano, but Lance stood in their way. Blaine and Yellow battled with their powerful Mewtwo, but Lance proved to be too powerful. Even with his comically large spoon, Blaine and Mewtwo had a psychic link together, and Blaine felt each attack that hit Mewtwo. Eventually, Blaine falls, and their psychic link causes Mewtwo to fall as well, leaving Yellow all alone. Lance taunts her as her unevolved Pokemon pale in comparison to his team of dragons, and then begins attacking Yellow, trying to make her fall into the volcano. He had his Pokemon use Bubble Beam, but of course, since he's Lance, he had them use red, blue, and green bubbles. That way when they combined together, they would be invisible to the human eye. These bubbles had such a high force that when they hit Yellow's arm, her arm was instantly shattered upon contact. Yellow had to think of a plan fast, and what she came up with was the coolest thing I've ever seen. 10-year-old me had my mind blown. First, Kitty used String Shot all over the volcano, setting up an intricate web of silk. Then, Ratty used his sensitive whiskers to sense any vibrations in the web, which let them detect when an invisible bubble hit the thread. Omni had spread water on the silk, which would conduct electricity and let Pika send out a powerful electric attack into the correct line. Then, once Lance was slowed down, Gravy launched Dodie at powerful speeds directly into Lance's central bubble, bursting it into pieces. But things didn't quite happen in that way. Unfortunately, Yellow's team just wasn't strong enough since she refused to evolve her Pokemon. Luckily, Giovanni steps out of the shadows to help out. He sends out Rhyhorn, who uses Horn Attack to shatter a boulder and Stomp to break it into dust, which spreads into the air and reveals all the bubbles. Then, with a combination of Nidoqueen and Beedrill, he pierces through the main bubble, causing Lance to fall and get caught in Kitty's web. Giovanni then holds Lance at, B point, but Lance only laughs. It turns out, this whole scheme was only a trap to lure Giovanni out of hiding. Since no one could locate him, the Earth Badge had been missing this entire time. And now that he was here, the 8 badges could be combined using a device called the Badge Amplifier to control any Pokemon in the world. His target was a mysterious bird Pokemon in the sky, which in hindsight is pretty obviously meant to hint at Lugia. At this point, Lance breaks free with his Dragonite, and since he and Yellow are basically out of options, Giovanni also dips out of there like a coward. Bro came here just to deliver his badge before running out of there. Lance starts to fly up to enact the final part of his plan, but Yellow grabs Dragonite's tail and catches her right up. Lance is about to control the Lugia when she appears in front of him. He commands Aerodactyl to blast a powerful Hyper Beam at Yellow, but after the smoke clears, it's revealed that Kitty had evolved into a Metapod. He tanked the entire attack with his hard shell, and Yellow reveals that she's been intentionally canceling their evolutions with her Pokédex. Now that she doesn't have it anymore, her entire team evolves, including Kitty, who evolves one more time into Butterfree, giving Yellow the aerial mobility she desperately needed. The two teams square off, giving us this epic wide shot of Yellow and Lance fighting. Omni's Ice Beam versus Dragonite's Hyper Beam. Gravy's Defense Curl versus Dragonair's Slam. The battle is raging, and in the chaos, Yellow's arm injury from before, which was patched up by Kitty, slowly began to unravel. Back on the ground, our 3 heroes find this thread, and together, using Soar, Charizard, and Blasty, they send all their energy up the string to help Yellow, giving her the ability to blast a powerful Megavolt attack to overpower and take out Lance. That's some straight up power of friendship stuff right there, but it ends up working, knocking out Lance and saving the day. Okay, that was a mouthful, but I hope you guys liked my retelling of the story. I think I read these chapters like 100 times as a kid, so I'm so happy that I got to share that with you. Okay, let's take a hard pivot back to our game. We're about to take on Sabrina, but first we need to clear through Silphco. I hope you weren't too attached to the team after that story, because this upcoming battle is a little rough. But I'll be honest, Future Sight always fails. I think it just misses sometimes because it's 90 accuracy. But I always see it failing, and I don't know if there's like a hidden mechanic that I don't know about. I know now it's 100% accuracy, but in the old games, it was 90. So I don't know if it means that it failed. I don't know. We better not get confused. Yo. No way, dude. Yo. We can't deal with the Alakazam. Okay, hopefully Gravy. No, Gravy's special defense sucks. Yo, wait, hang on. I hope we didn't mess up. No, Kitty can deal with him. We have Giga Drain. Man, I'm stupid. I was being stupid for that one. Let's go to Omni. Yo, hope I didn't just throw. We do have Bite from Omni. We have some options there. Let's see, is it Alakazam now? Okay. Bite has a chance to flinch, but I think I'll just go for the damage. Okay. Getting a little scary, but thankfully he only has Future Sight, right? Hopefully we do more than like 75. I don't know what it would do. Ooh. No recover. Oh, we're good. We're fine. We were scared for nothing. He still has Gyarados, but we've got options for Gyarados. Gyarados doesn't have any. What? Yo, what the heck? Okay, Future Sight's gonna. The base power is lower, isn't it? It's not 120 yet. Isn't it like 90? Yo, how did that not kill? I don't want to get teamed up with a Dragon Rage and a Future Sight. I hope I didn't mess up, man. Our special defense is 82. Yeah, our special defense sucks. Would you guys be mad if I sacked Pika? I feel like Kitty is the safest to go into. I think we can tank a future. No, man, he was +2 when he did that. How did that not KO? I don't know. I'm 50-50 right now. I can go into Kitty and try to survive one. Can Kitty tank it though? Because if Kitty can, well, let's think about it. Let's say I switch Kitty in, and then he uses Dragon Rage, right? That's 40 damage, so we have 68. 68, we're not living a Future Sight. And then what do we do after that, right? Even if he does live it. Does it fail if he's fainted? I think it still lands. What is his special defense? 79. Worse than Kitty's. Man, our defense is so high. Why can you target our defense? Oh man, I'm really leaning towards sacking Pika. I'm sending him out. I'm gonna do it. If he dies, we get Choo Choo. Yep. Okay, there's a Dragon Rage that I was scared of. Let's see. Oh, it's not this turn. It's the next turn. I think still, right? We'll take him out. Oh, hopefully it fails. We have a chance. If it's really Red's Pika, then he should be able to live on plot armor. Yeah, it's part of the plot. That's what I'm thinking. Where's the Future Sight? Oh, man. Alright, see ya, buddy. Yeah, rest in peace, Pika. To be fair, canonically, Yellow had 2 Pikachus, one being Red's Pika and the other being Choo Choo, who Yellow had caught later in her journey. For now though, Red got rescued by Giovanni and took his Pika back, so we replaced him with Seadri as we got ready to challenge Giovanni to save the Sylph President. Kitty misses the kill on Nidorino, but on the next turn, she's able to take him out, along with his follow-up Rhyhorn. Against Kangaskhan, I send out Gravy to tank his attacks while retaliating with Magnitude. Then, after he goes down, I stay in against his follow-up Nidoqueen to take her out as well, which wins us the battle. That's all the story for now, so it's time to take on Sabrina. Now, these games are generally pretty easy, but Sabrina's probably the only potential run-ender. If Alakazam manages to set up too many Calm Minds, then we can easily get outsped and swept by a few Psychics. But as long as we can outspeed with Dodie, we should be able to get the one-shot on her frail team. Should I have edged? Maybe? Now that I'm thinking about it. Could be a little scary. Do we one-shot? That's the important question. Yes, we do. Alright. Maybe once Alakazam comes out, we can level up. Let's go! Okay. I'll be honest, my voice is giving out. We'll see. I'm not tired. I'm not that tired. I think Fly, right? Venomoth is a little more bulky. I can still speak. Can you guys hear? Is my voice getting a little worse? Wait, a 5% to miss there. Will this put us over the edge? Oh no, man, I could use those extra stats. Alright, Alakazam. You do outspeed. Yo, you better not. Can we get a para maybe? No! I forgot. Okay. He lived, man. If only we had a little bit more EVs. Okay. I know its defense is so much worse. I'm gonna go for Eradicate. He outspeeds us anyways. But Sabrina always heals. He is paralyzed. So we can tank a Psychic. As long as he doesn't crit. We're gonna go for the Strength. Oh, he full healed too! Oh, but we have Quick Attack. As long as we don't bring him to the red. 2 Hyper Potions, right? Would she heal again? Should I Quick Attack or Strength? Isn't it 2 Hyper Potions? I want to check, man. Sabrina has 2 Hyper Potions and a full heal. I'm looking at it right now. So she will definitely Hyper Potion again. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, there's the Hyper Potion. There's the Strength. Here's the Quick Attack. Yeah, let's go. Okay, man, that was close. That paralysis was pretty lucky. Yeah, the Alakazam can definitely get a little scary, but luckily we made it out with no issues. The next part of our journey involves clearing through the Pokemon Mansion and finding the secret key, but at this point in the stream, we were 5 hours in and I was definitely feeling it. The chat demanded some live reactions to the gameplay, so we eventually got an entire council watching us play. They watched as we got the secret key before heading over to the power plant for our last encounter, Choo Choo the Pikachu. She's our spiritual successor to Pika, and the two of them actually had some sort of marriage? At least according to Bulbapedia, they had a courtship, whatever that means. Google says a courtship is a period in which a couple develops a romantic relationship, especially with a view to marriage. Interesting. Their courtship actually resulted in an egg, which ended up being Gold's Pichu. Interesting parallel here, because your mom and I actually had a courtship too, which resulted in you. Funny how these things play out, huh? With the live council reactions watching over us, we head in to take out Blaine, and although you can barely see the screen, you'll have to trust me that Omni was able to sweep through his entire team with no issues. I'm glad you guys can hear that. I wasn't sure if it would work or not. I was trying to set up like a VB cable or something like that. You can just put it directly to the desktop audio. Alright, we get our attack dropped, but that is fine because we're just gonna use Surf. Should be clean wipe. Oh, I forgot to take off the the live reactions. Alright, we'll leave him here. That's alright. This is definitely gonna be in the video then. We better not get flinched. Okay. Rapidash. I think they have Stomp, right? It could be a little bit scary if we get flinched to death. You guys can't even see my HP. Hopefully it's a good viewer experience. Dang, that's doing too much damage. I think we should be okay when Rapidash comes out. Can you guys see my HP? No. Fire Blast should not take us out. Yeah, we saw how much the Ponyta did. Ooh, that was a crit too. Yeah, but we're fine. Alright, Lord Helix Sweep. We got this. Oh wait, Seadree's off the team. I forgot. We're having too much fun here. Okay, Seadree, you're off the team. We gotta get Choo Choo in here. Okay, there we go. With Choo Choo added to the team, we head over to Viridian City, where it's the same story for Giovanni. I'll be honest, giving the player Surf right before the Fire and Ground type gym leaders is some pretty interesting game design. But hey, I know Omni's not complaining. Alright Giovanni, all about the Twitch Plays Pokemon reference. We gotta squeeze in as many as we can. Alright, I'll leave him up there. Alright, Rhyhorn down. Thankfully, he gets a level 50 Rhyhorn. Otherwise, well, either way, Surf would sweep through. I always see people saying, like, when I show that the level cap, oh shoot, we do get S-Bed. We should live it though, right? Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, but for the Giovanni fight, I always see people saying, like, no, his ace is level 45. We should outspeed again. We should one-shot too from all the drugs. That'll be okay. Oh, we got a crit too. Include all the references in the video to make it long. I'll have to reference them back to my Twitch video, the one that didn't do too well. Oh yeah, another one that I always get is, like right here, I leveled to 51. I always get comments saying, you are over-leveled. But I don't feel like explaining all the, like, you know, level cap starts at the start of the battle. Alright, making progress. Now, before we make our way to the league, we have a little bit of backtracking to do. In Rock Tunnel, we make sure to get the Rock Slide tutor for Gravy, that way we don't need to rely on the unreliable Rock Blast. You can see how much damage we do to our rival's Pidgeot, even after a -2 from Feather Dance. Kitty takes care of Execute with a Silver Wind, which even got the Omni boost, then his follow-up Rhyhorn as well with a Giga Drain. Omni comes out against Charizard to tank his Flamethrower, but barely misses the kill with Ancient Power. No way! He actually lives that? Then Kitty deals with Gyarados, although it got a little scary after Gyarados set up a Rain Dance. A boosted Hydro Pump could be scary, but Blue only uses Leer and then gets fully paralyzed. Blue sends out Alakazam, but we've got Silver Wind for that. He has Synchronized, so would I Sunsport? No, let's Silver Wind. He's gonna Calm Mind. He's just stupid. And Bug is physical. Well, I think we might just straight up one-shot here. No way, bro. Psychic won't take us out, right? I was thinking it too. Bro, I got so scared there. That wasn't the cleanest battle, and it made me realize I really need to get the team prepared so we don't wipe to the Elite Four. So first, I taught Ratty Thief, then Sola Sharpbeak from a Wild Spearow. Yo, let's go! Yo, do not mirror move. Do not mirror move me. Thank you. Then, I did some mining off camera, getting a Twisted Spoon for Kitty, a Never Melt Ice for Omni and Ratty, as well as a magnet for Choo Choo. That's all our preparation, so now it's time to head in. If we wipe, we'll need to start over, all the way back to resetting for Guts Rattata, so everything's on the line now. Against Lorelei, our plan was pretty simple. We would lead with Choo Choo and fire off Stab Magnet Boosted Thunderbolts. I was thinking to wear this. I know how like Pokemon Challenges always does some glasses. I feel like it looks stupid. Alright, let's do it. Lorelei, Dugong is first. We've got our Magnet Boosted Thunderbolt, so these should all be one-shots. Alright, Choo Choo, you got this. Crit 2. Cloyster special defense sucks, so we're gonna be fine. What's up? I was here. Yeah, Ion was here for the entire stream. Alright, who's next? Slowbro. We should definitely take him out, right? Slowbro is very physically tanky. Like that. No way, he tanks it! Yo, we get paralyzed though. What happens now? Amnesia. Alright, so Lorelei's gonna start healing. We can stay in. We're gonna do half as much damage. Let's see. Another lucky para would be good. Oh, we still did a sizable amount. Man, that means we low rolled the first one. Another obstacle on our way to defeat Blue. Yo, I'm telling you, man, let's get some high rolls, come on. Another Amnesia, she's got another full restore, right? Ah, she's gonna start tanking our attacks. What's Surf gonna do to us, you know? Yo, she didn't? Wait, is she programmed to save it or something? Is she programmed to save it for her ace? Lapras, we should be good. I think Lapras does tank it, right? She's just so bulky, yeah. But what's she gonna respond with? Body Slam. Oh, okay. I don't want to risk, like I could stay in and outspeed, right? But I really don't want to. Yeah, I'll just go into Omni for these. Who's last? Jinx is last. On a Surf. Let's Ancient Power. Auto. Wait, that didn't take him out? Oh, he's parried though. Okay. Man, this is a rough fight. Now she wants to heal. So the AI decided to just let him go down, huh? We need an Omni boost. These rolls have been pretty awful. You want a boost? No? A Confusory, man. What's higher? I feel like Lapras's physical is higher, no? I don't remember. I don't want to get a crit Surf and then we hit ourselves, so I'm thinking to switch into Dodie. Or should I stay in? Because he did what? How much damage is that? My math isn't good. 59? Yeah, crits are 2 times in this gen, right? That's a little risky. Let's just go for it. Come on, Omni. Yo, you stupid idiot. Okay, so we're switching. I don't know why she's not healing. Yeah, another Surf. We are okay. They're both 100 accuracy. Let's just try attack. And then into Jinx. Will that take out Jinx? Is Jinx tanky enough? I don't want to be stupid and lose to an Ice Punch or something. I feel like it should, but Jinx has a little bit of bulk to it. Okay, thank God. Man, I was scared to be like a tiny bit of HP. But alright, we got Lorelei down. Not the cleanest fight. Jinx has no defense. I was a little bit nervous. Maybe the HP stat would help him. But yeah, we were okay. Choo Choo, man, you suck. Against Bruno, our plan was to have Kitty carry the battle. Since we had Giga Drain, we could deal with the Onix pretty easily while firing off powerful Twisted Spoon boosted Psychics. Alright, Kitty, let's Giga Drain him. Man, earlier today we had this exact matchup, but against a level 14 Onix. Alright, Hitmonchan. Rock Tomb will be very scary, but I think a Psychic will kill. No way! Yeah, this is the face of a man who forgot over and over again how awful Butterfree's attacking potential is. I guess I probably should have realized after so many awful performances, so this one's partially on me. Rest in peace, Kitty. You carried us so hard in the Brock fight, getting off Compound Eyes boosted powder moves and tanking a 4x super effective Rock Tomb. You're one of the underpowered bug types of Kanto, but you certainly made your mark on our playthrough. But even with that heavy loss, we must continue on. Dodie comes out and finishes the rest of Bruno's team, and Omni takes care of his Onyx with a Surf, which wins us the battle. Next up, we're facing Agatha, and do you remember that foreshadowing from before? Yeah, Fly versus Aerial Ace, I'm probably not gonna... Does anyone spam double team? There's like Agatha's Gengar or something weird like that?
Agatha's Gengar?
Okay, there's the Gengar. Dodie, we're gonna definitely level up, but let's go for the Drill Peck first. Should take him out? No way! Double team! Oh no, now we need the Aerial Ace. Just gonna heal. I forgot that she runs double team. Normally we just one-shot him a few times. Don't miss, dude. Okay, thank you. You want a crit? Nope. Ah! Man, everything is going wrong. Okay, you should be... Man, we are Sharp Beak boosted. Okay, no, man, come on. What can you use against us? Just double team, right? I don't know how he survived. Come on, just one more time. Man, he's stupid. Snap out. Just land one, man. He's right there. He can't really touch us, right? Doesn't he only have Shadow Ball? Yeah, he's gonna confuse Ray again. Oh, he's gonna have Toxic. Yeah, Shadow Punch. The last one will have Sludge Bomb. We'll just have to be careful for that. Man, this is really difficult. I really don't want to hit myself. Let's go to Choo Choo and then switch back to Dodie. Yeah, he's just gonna keep double teaming. I should have put Shockwave on Pika, you know, at the very least. Should I Thunderbolt? Do we live a Shadow Punch? Who has 100% accuracy? No one does. Oh, come on, I don't want to lose at this stage. No, he Toxic'd us. Yo, come on, bro. I'm gonna go into Ratty. This stupid idiot, man. I don't have any... I forgot that he has double team. Yo! Okay, thank God that Thief connected. There's a timeline that we could have wiped there if our luck was bad enough. Okay, against Golbat, I'll be honest, I think Strength still does more. I brought Ice Beam for the 4 times. What's he gonna do? Poison Fang. Oh, no poison, okay. I feel like Gravity would be a switch safe in, a safe switch in. Hard to talk at 12:38 in the morning. There's Arbok with the Intimidate. We don't have Dig anymore. Let's go into Gravy. Gravy. No, it's Gravy. Into the Screech, that's totally fine. And then let's go for the Earthquake. Yeah, Ratty's really helping us out, man. All right, that's Arbok down. He screeched, so now Shadow Ball will do more. There's the Haunter. I don't think we outspeed. Who can I really switch into? Maybe Omni? We are -2. How bad really? Because his physical attack sucks. So I think I'm okay. Oh no. Uh-oh. We should take him out, right? Yeah, we're okay. Mean look didn't matter. But still, it's a little scary against Gengar. But since his physical attack is so bad, I think we might be okay. Wait, how do we outspeed? Yo! Wait, how do we outspeed there, though? I know I have the Quick Claw. Okay, don't miss this one. Did my Quick Claw proc, but it just didn't display, like, the text? Oh, shoot, okay. We made it out of this one. Yo, that was scary. Okay, last up is Lance. This is the fated battle from before. Our team is fully evolved, but it can still be a little scary considering we're going up against literal dragons. Chat and I did a little bit of brainstorming, and it was really looking like all roads led to Choo Choo sacrificing her life for the team. Alright, okay, first up, we've got Gyarados out. Double team, I think I got rid of double team, no? Maybe I'm thinking of Pika. We have Light Screen. We're gonna set up Light Screen first. This should hopefully dissuade Lance from sending out... Oh my god. It should dissuade him from sending out, Dragonite. Did we live that? Okay, sorry sorry Choo Choo. You're destined to die in this fight, let's just be honest. Now that he's gone, let's go into Omni. I thought he might Dragon Rage first. We could at least take him out. No, I forgot. Yo, wait, okay. I forgot to restore PP. Can we get some Omni boosts? Oh, let's go! In the fight too. Okay, he's gonna be recharging now. We get one more chance for an Omni boost. Let's go for the 20%. Yo, we're gonna for sure take him out with this one too. It would have been a 3-shot before. Let me update. Yo, we got 2! There's no way. Do we have Serene Grace or something? No way. This is Choo Choo Sacrifice. Yo, okay, let me get Choo Choo off the screen. Thanks, Choo Choo. We got the 20%. Okay. Wait, that's it. We outspeed everyone and we take them out with an Ice Beam. Yo, this is all because of Choo Choo. And Pika's Spirit too. Man, and Kitty too from 2 battles ago. Man, let's go. Some people might say it's a little bit of luck, but I think we would have won anyways. The Aerodactyl. Why isn't he sending out Aerodactyl? That's scared, huh? A back-to-back Omni boost. Aerodactyl should be last, right? And we should just use Surf. Either way. Man. Clean sweep. Pretty clean, except we lost Choo Choo, but otherwise pretty clean. I'm still in shock about that one. Okay, we definitely had the spirit of Kitty and Choo Choo by our side on that one. Still, even without the boosts, we definitely could have swept his team with Ice Beam. Although, to be fair, it wouldn't have been this easy. Oh, we're healthy. With the battle won, we licked our wounds and continued forward to plan for Blue's team with our remaining soldiers. Okay, let's plan this out because it's a 4v6 right now. He's gonna lead with Pidgeot. We have 2 options here, right? 2 branching paths, Omni or Gravy. Let's say we go with Gravy. We take out Pidgeot and he sends out, it could be Rhydon, it could be Exeggutor, it could be Gyarados. I think most likely it's gonna be Exeggutor. It's probably gonna be Gyarados, right? Doesn't the AI look at like the most damage? So it's gonna send out Gyarados next. Then what do? We don't outspeed, Hydro Pump will take us out. We don't have any switch-ins for Hydro Pump. We could sack Ratty. That's our other option. The other option is if we lead with Omni, take him out with Ancient Power. Okay, that's the other path here. Now, Exeggutor for sure is going to come out, right? And that's going to be a Giga Drain. So we'll switch into Doty. We'll take out Exeggutor. Rhydon can come out to use Rock Tomb, so we switch into to Gravy. Omni Boost shenanigans. I feel like Omni is the safest lead. What do you guys think? Ratty, you are our sacrificial lamb. All right, let's do it. With the plan in place, it's time to take on the last battle of Kanto. Let's take out Blue. All right, let's see. Pidgeot's up first. Oh, it only brings it up to 6. I thought it'd be 8. Okay. Oh, he's gonna go for Sand Attack. He's gonna be like that. We always have Ice Beam if we need to, but he cannot touch us. So let's try to get our Omni boosts. Euro time in the morning. Oh yeah, that's true. Ratty has a sacrificial lamb to Lord. He likes his godly sweep. Let's see how we do. We might have to... Oh, we got the Omni. With the -1 accuracy, it's not the best. We just got 3. That's 3 in total. At a 10%. That's 4! Yo, there's no way! Okay. Aerial Ace. That does nothing. Who cares? Not me. Okay. He's gonna heal. That's fine. We got 2 more shots, right? Okay, we miss a few. That's fine. Okay, yeah, I thought maybe we we'd get another one. Okay, our attack is nothing right now, right? We can only, well, either way, we're out of Ancient Power. We have to use our special attacks here. But we're basically playing on like Hustle right now, right? We got the boost from Omni Boost, but our accuracy is bad. Sometimes it pays off. All right. That's Pidgeot down. Now, it's for sure gonna be Exeggutor, right? Let's see the Exeggutor. It's Rhydon. Okay, we should be able to tank something. Let's just go for the Surf. Yeah, we're fine, we're fine. Exeggutor. The Giga Drain is scary, okay? It's a quad, super effective. We're holding a Never Melt Ice. Should we go for an Ice Beam? If we miss the Ice Beam, I think we can tank it because we are +2. Our special defense is doubled, okay? And just to refresh you guys' memory, look at our special defense. It's not bad, it's 115. Let's go for it. Don't miss. Oh, let's go. Is he bulky enough to tank it though? I think no. We are +2, we are Never Melt Ice, let's go! With a crit too! Alright, who's next? Into the Alakazam. Surf will do more damage. Okay, our first miss. He went for the reflect. That's useless, dude. Don't do that. I mean, keep going for that. Don't set up Calm Mind's future sight. That's not bad. That's okay. We are okay for that. Alright, we just have to connect these. Man, we are really gambling here. It's really like a hustle ability, you know? We're boosted for our attack, but our accuracy sucks. Okay, Gyarados time. Against Gyarados, we gotta go for the Ice Beams. Okay, we miss. What does he have? Hydro. How well do we live that? Oh, we're fine. The future sight. How do we do against that? Yo, we're fine. We're chilling. Yo, we're fine. Okay, that better take him out. If he crits a Hydro Pump, we might be in a little bit of trouble. Ooh, we went for the Dragon Rage. You guys want to keep gambling on Omni? On our Lord Helix here? Let's do it. Let's gamble for one. Yo, let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Even if we missed, let's say he took us out with Hydro Pump, we can Revenge Kill with Dodie, and then take out Charizard with Gravity. So, I think we are set. Alright. Let's not miss. Okay. Wow. 7 hours and 20 minutes, huh? Whew. Man, we did it. For Choo-Choo, for Pika, and for Kitty, man, that was a tough fight. Before we end, I wanted to show you how Yellow's arc ended. Yellow wakes up in Viridian Forest, but Pika's nowhere to be seen. Ratty's next to her, and the two of them look around the forest before finding the rest of the team. Dodie, Gravy, Omni, and of course Kitty are here and happily greet her. Everyone's fully evolved, and Yellow almost didn't recognize them. They walk further, finding Pika standing by himself. Yellow calls out to him, but he runs away as Yellow gives chase. He runs, and then jumps into Red's arms. Yellow smiles as she remembers that Pika is actually Red's Pokemon, saying that they've been together for so long that she almost forgot. Then, the sequence ends with my favorite panel, with Yellow snuggled up together with the team before they all grew up, saying, "Let's stay the way we were, for a little longer." In the whirlwind of our daily lives, we can quickly become wrapped up and lose ourselves to time. But when we take a look back, we can see just how much time has passed and how much we've all grown up. In those moments, we can never truly go back to that time, so it's important to not rush things, to hold on to all our moments before they too become a fleeting memory. And with that, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, at least as much as I enjoyed making it. That 7.5-hour live stream will always be special to me, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate everyone who is there. Let me know which manga character you'd like to see the most in the comments, and I'm gonna go with the most popular one. Make sure you're subscribed too. I took a shot in the dark and uploaded my first video in January, and the journey so far has been amazing. Personally, it's my goal to hit 10,000 before the end of the year. I've heard lots of accomplished YouTubers say once you hit 10K, you know you can make it big, so that would really mean the world to me. Also, you should follow my Twitter. That's where I'll be posting my video updates, as well as anything fun in my personal life. Until next time, this has been Magnus. Love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.